then learning to reintegrate into the team. And when you get someone new, you got a whole new piece of the pie. You got to be like, all right, this is how we talk. This is how we, hang out after this, how we get Grubhub after the match. But it is that whole integration process. The test for St. John's is going to be, how is that integration going?
Well, we'll find out now as the draft is underway. Our playoffs getting kicked off with game number 1, DePaul and St. John's. And again, 9.23. Bunch of priority down on the bottom side of the map, different keystones, and we're all kind of learning on the fly as well. Which team has done their prep, which one finds that they're at least trying new things compared to sticking to a 9.22 type model of champions here. And I guess as we see these things, as these new decisions and compositions come up, we can adjudicate whether they're good or bad.
Yeah. I mean, I think on top of that, what makes the draft even more interesting is that, remember, not only are teams learning the 9.23 meta, which, we're very new into it ourselves, but this is still collegiate. This is still, the land of 1 tricks, the land of 2 tricks. You have to tailor-make your draft preparations for teams while bringing out strong. And that's going to let a lot of these, what could be top-tier picks through.
I think one thing that sticks out for me is that DePaul banning away the Senna. Again, as first pick, we've seen Senna be first pick worthy. That's kind of showing, hey, look, Hunky Hank, he's fantastic on so many different supports. Braum, Thresh, Morgana, we've seen so many. Yeah. Not so much here on the Senna. They don't feel comfortable taking that one, so they'll remove that one from St. John's champ pool.
Yeah, and there's just a whole bunch of things where it is going to remain a little bit the same, but there's going to be different twists to it, right? It's going to like that one meme where it's like same, but different.
Yeah.
But still same. So the meta is going to have a lot of the same champions, but they're going to be played more aggressively. You're going to see some champions like Senna jump up in priority, because this actually happens with playtesting, is you actually playtest patches ahead. So a champion will actually be in a new environment than when it gets released on live. So it's like Senna was being played with AD as the support item, and so when she got released, that didn't exist. So people are like crying for, oh, she's weak, she needs a buff. It's like, actually just wait, because she was being playtested on this patch when people were playtesting Senna simultaneously with preseason changes. So things like that is, she's going to be much stronger now than she even was a few days ago.
Well, first couple picks coming on into Paul, focusing in the mid lane with the Rise first pick. Answered back by the Red Storm with J4 and Thresh. So Vision gonna have himself a comfort pick. I like this early drafting by St. John's. Again, bash him in a different role, so get him one of his champions. And then Vision, the new player coming on in for Reborn, who's now in the mid lane, getting his comfort Thresh.
Yeah, and that's a big takeaway from DePaul as well. I mean, last time we saw DePaul play, I think we said the word Hunky Hank about like 1,000 times. It was montage stuff worthy.
Yeah, accurately 1,000 times.
Yeah, but it also definitely puts a lot more attention towards that bottom side as well. You're already isolating out King Amazing Hunky Hank, because when you have a Thresh already, the jungler's ability to gank that lane and really lock down is just like exemplified.
Yes.
All of a sudden, J4, he had this range, now he has this range with a lantern and hook. So definitely be putting a lot of pressure down to the bottom side. And with Ezreal taken away and 2 more bans coming to the bottom lane for DePaul most likely, you can really start to take away some of those safer options.
Yeah, I'd say you take away things like, I don't think it's more safe. I think it's, you want to take away powerful options. You want to take away lane bullies. I feel like Caitlyn, Lucian are really good bans right now, because those are really oppressive champions in the bottom side of the map that make it so that they push you in and you will get the first dragon, which spawns at, I believe, around 5 minutes now in the game, and it's very low HP. It's about less than 3,000. So you could go ahead and take it very quickly, and you make it so that you get that early boost to your power. So I think that lane priority is the name of the game on this patch, especially on the bottom side. You can't really play for scaling.
Yeah, and there's those 2 AD carries that you're talking about earlier. Lucian and Caitlyn both removed from St. John's, and so Ezreal fine there, will not have as much pressure in his face to kick things off, and DePaul will have to go a little bit deeper in the champ pool for King Amazing. Now, just a quick update. Vision changed his name. Former member of the squad in the 2019 regular season was Emberwork. So yes, Vision coming on in as a new player, but has experience with this roster of St. John's, and so just a little bit more
you got the makeover.
Comfort there. Yeah. All these players changing their names. Stick with the same name. Know your brand.
I love this from St. John's. This is actually a coaching style we used to run back in my old alma mater. It's just called the Orianna drill. You just put a bunch of AoE ultimates together and you press R, baby. You have Ori, you have J4. The second those ults are up, you just go ahead and play make. It's very strong, especially when you're in a place of discomfort, because it's something you can always go back to. It's reliable, and the ease of execution is, it's up there, but it's not 3-man split push super poke.
Zyra Khan coming out for DePaul, though, to answer the Press R composition of St. John's. Obviously, the Lovers do a strong composition a strong duo in any composition.
Ooh, and speaking of just lane priority, speaking of having compositions that can go together, split pushing, this is a Jace in the top side that's going to be playing for priority versus the Ornn, and I feel like that's a winning matchup for them there. The mid lane, the Orianna does well into the Rise. It's one of those typical counter matchups from before, but his bottom side, I think, is a little bit worse for them. The Zyra Khan is incredibly powerful, and it comes down to how Vision is going to play this. Can he stuff the Rakan ganks? Can he stuff the Rakan engages? And that's what it's going to come down to, is do they actually make it to those team fights? Do they actually make it to the Dragon? And so I feel like this game is going to be fast, just like a lot of the games on 9.23, but also it's going to be pretty explosive because whoever fights, people are not going to be sitting on their hands in this game. That's what I like about League of Legends on this patch, is you can't be sitting around. People are not going to scale, but they're going to get dragons. They're going to get objectives and get a massive boost of power in the mid game.
Yeah, and it feels like just with Ornn now being played so much more here on this new patch, there's that easy to start a fight go button with the Call of the Forge God just rolling on through here. And before we get into predictions, have a little bit of time before we touch into that. Again, I want to touch on the 9.23 changes. We asked Basham what he thought about it. I wanted to get your guys' take. What is the biggest impact that has happened in all of these changes, both from items, from Senna now being released and played a lot more powered up, obviously the Rift. What is the biggest impact for you first, Irene?
I think it's the Dragon, not just what it gives, but I feel like the Dragon Soul and the race to the Dragon Soul means that there's something that everybody is moving towards actively, because there's a point in the game, it can be even 26, 27, 28 minutes, where you go, okay, this game has just had a huge shift in power where somebody has powered up immensely. So the Dragons mean so much, and it's not like before where people get a Dragon and then they cash in on it later with the Elder as a big buff. Now it's like, if you steal a Dragon, that means more. If you secure a Dragon earlier, that means more because you progress closer to the Dragon Soul. That is the big thing. It's not the terrain shifts from the Dragon Soul or anything like that. It's the fact that whatever team gets it, and only one team can, has this major boost in power for the rest of the game.
Right. I think that's definitely a big thing, but I think the thing that definitely catches my eye as well is the removal of the catch-up XP in the jungle. It definitely allows for those junglers to play a bit more aggressive. Once you get one or two of those level advantages, you're able to run away with that. And that's actually something I want to see with this matchup, because J4 definitely more of that ganking style jungler. Olaf can get in there too, but I'm interested to see what happens when they swap some blows.
True.
All right, well, thank you for that. Time for predictions, boys. Put your money where your mouth is. We've talked about the patches. We've talked about the draft. Let's see where you guys go with that. I will go first. I think for me, I love what St. John's has done with their program. I like the fact that they're all very flexible in their positions, but I believe that DePaul have what it takes to learn from their mistakes from round number 4 and get the victory. Blue Demons for me.
Yeah, I'm going to have to go with the Blue Demons as well from DePaul, because I feel like the team is just overall a little bit sharper. They have more cohesion. They haven't shifted their roster around. And last time, I think they were caught a little bit off guard by the form that St. John's was in, but I don't think that's the same form that they are in today.
Yeah, I think I have to agree. Like, looking at the composition from St. John's, I'm seeing a few too many single points of failure, especially towards Vision in that bottom side of the map, being really on soul disengage duty. I really like the game plan that Paul's looking to put forward here, and I think that their veteran status, especially like having that swagger of being #1 from the 2019 regular season, I think they're going to be a little bit more well adapted to go ahead into this new horizon, rise to the new elementals, and take this win.
All right, well, our experts have spoken. Predictions have been laid out. Nothing left to do except to kick off our Big East preseason invitational, brought to you by Grubhub. Thank you so much, Grubhub. Guys, let's get underway.
Let's go. I'm excited for this. This is the first game that I'm going to be casting on this patch. So for me, I'm just like, I want to see what happens in this game, what dragon's going to be spawning first, and how the entire game is going to unfold.
Thanks, Grubhub.
And a good start there, just being able to spot out that there's no invade there from DePaul, but they were all ready to just counter and wait for the Thresh to come in.
Yeah, good on DePaul to get the early read here. And again, Ember Ward comfortable with this squad. And I think St. John's, again, with this roster swap, having guys flipping on over to different positions, they're more willing to take the cheese here and say, hey, look, we need to get an advantage wherever we can. But nice sniff out there by the #1 seed in the Big East preseason invitational.
Yeah, and especially when you're playing something like the J4 in the early game, like you're thinking about the level 2 gank. You're thinking about your ability just to affect the map in these early stages of the game. So being able to track where Reaper is, just so you know you're not going to get, immediately counter jungled, 3-buffed and whatnot, especially with the lack of catch-up XP, like that gives you a huge a knowledge advantage and lets you more readily set up this early game.
Yep. And looking at new items here, Spell Thieves for Hunky Hank makes complete sense. But for Vision, he's gone with the Steel Shoulder Guard, which is the AD and health support item instead of the Relic Shield, which would have been AP. So this means he's going to try to make more out of those auto attacks. And that makes complete sense considering the range of Thresh is longer than the range of the Rakan. So you want to have those trades, not so much, I would even say trades, you want to bully, right? That's kind of the difference, I think, is like when you trade, you go blow for blow, but when you bully, they don't get to really retaliate.
It's the stop hitting yourself methodology.
Oh, gosh.
But yeah, no, definitely. With that, I mean, Rakan certainly is set up to be that all-in engager, and if you're able to whittle him down from range, I mean, already you have the Ezreal's going to be able to poke you down with the Q, and then Thresh, get a few autos in there. All of a sudden, Hunky Hank might not even want to go in.
Yep, and you can see there's already a setup here from St. John's. What they've done, if they warded the blue buff, Reborn going to take that Blast Cone, they warded it, and this is a full clear here from Reaper. He's going for the full bottom side clear, which still gets you level 3.
Oh, he's going for the invade, or at least the vision.
Yeah,
oh yeah, just vision.
Going for vision right now. It's a little early for the Scuttle Crab. It's a really fast 3-camp start there, and so he has to go kind of do another camp, his blue buff or anything like that. But this was buff to buff with the Krugs on top, or buff Wolves buff with Krugs on top of it for the level 3 for Basham, and then he just returns, goes back, gets the boots, and now I expect him to head towards the bottom side of the map.
Yeah, again, so interesting as preseason kicks off, and it happens every year, how the new jungle pathing will work and what these guys think are optimal.
I hate that every year the jungle gets changed.
Yeah.
But it makes the game spicy. I will say it keeps the game fresh. It does make people want to play again, like myself, but
I was going to say, it allows you to flex your expertise season after season.
Well,
to flex your
adaptation, I would say.
Yeah.
Your ability to adaptation? Is that?
Ability to adapt.
That sounds like English right there.
Yeah. And like you can see things like Kleptomancy's been removed, so Ezreal is using the Conqueror. There's a Conqueror as well on Jace and Jarvan, and this has been kind of the go-to rune now, or keystone, for a lot of champions.
Exactly. Big thing with it being, double the stacks available, huge increase in the adaptive force plus the healing, really does open it up to these longer out brawls, and it's going to be interesting to see once we get into that, but we got some on the top side.
Pinky in a little bit of trouble, forced to flash away, and so Reaper getting it done early on. Basham still on the bottom side of the map, didn't have too many camps to clear. I think he just had Krugs, and so a nice early game pathing success for Reaper.
Yeah, so he's going to go place his pink ward on the back side of the red, most likely, and then go for the Krugs. But actually, no, he's not going to place the pink ward there. Oh, boy.
There you go. Pinky now. The repeat gank by Reaper does chunk him down. Remember, no flash there, but that means Basham's going to head to the bottom side of the map, take away the Krugs.
I think he got spotted by the minion wave.
Yeah, he got pinged out of there almost immediately. And this is basically just going to signal to SJU and DePaul, St. John's, of course, on the red side, but that this is just going to turn into a bit of a vertical jungle. So DePaul really focusing on making sure that maybe soon isn't attacked on the top side. That he's still going to be into the game, shut down that potential later game split pushing threat, and really force it onto your terms, because that's where I like DePaul here. Avoiding exactly what SJU wants to go for in the early game, keep it away from those big Ori plays, and really dictate the pace yourself.
Yeah, and you got to see it earlier. Just so much focus here by Reaper on the top side of the map. Jace with the range advantage, pretty far down in CS, plus a wave in a dangerous spot with Reaper still hovering the top side. Pinky's looking very, very juicy.
So something that I think people will start doing at this point is at 4 minutes or 4:30, you back and you buy your items, and then you go to Dragon. We saw Orianna already get it back in without having to use his teleport. That means he can actually go back again, buy half a completed item, and then teleport to something like a Dragon. J4 has now backed, and Olaf has not backed a single time, and they know where he is on the top side of the map. I actually think this is not great from J4 to be on the top side here, but...
Oh! Hey, look at that. Pinky just turning and saying, hey, look, you can take my pink ward, but I might take your life for it. And so Reaper, he spent a lot of time there, forced to flash away. Nice little solo play from Pinky.
Oh, yeah, they're going deep here. Look, you already have movement coming out from Reborn, plus Basham. They're looking for the fight, but here's Reaper on top side.
Well, actually, he's going to die.
Oh, maybe soon barely able to get away, and Pinky's been 1v2ing for a long time. Here comes Reborn, missing it after the flash. You hate to see it. Command attack not going to land. Dissonance won't, but he finally gets it on the third try. Auto attack cannot miss.
That's a great roam there from Reborn. Even though he flashes and uses the Q, they're going to push in. This will be Basham. Basham should walk up, auto, and then they should do it. There we go.
It is. Nice knock up. The ult comes in land. TP coming in just a bit late, and St. John's taking an early 2-0 lead.
Yeah, that's an absolutely fantastic dive and good execution, not to blow too much or even to let anyone drop there, but do know what was lost around the map. I mean, not even a single play was taken in the top lane. The vision really wasn't set up on the top side of the map, and Dragon control now completely in the hands of DePaul. It was a great advantage for the top side, but now it is even more on that to let that take over the game.
Realm Warp coming on in. Will Comtrap be able to get the damage down? Vision is very low. He does get finished off. The heal will keep Shadow Sneak up very safe for just a little bit longer. Pinky, he had TPs now down on the bottom side of the map. Reborn is here, does not have ultimate, used it earlier. Slightly out of range. I don't think he's going to be able to catch him. Hunky Hank low, Dissonance, plus a command attack, not going to be enough. Comtra away, but the long distance shock blast will land, and Pinky does get value up the TP. 3-1 St. John's.
And that's, I think, the big difference in the lane priority. Reborn was able to have lane priority in the mid, and then on top side, Pinky the same thing, so they didn't have to blow their teleports to get back to lane like DePaul did. You see Ornn up top, nothing in that summoner spell slot. Same thing with Comcha. They both used their TPs to get back to lane to stay there instead of saving it, having priority, and being able to make plays like that.
Yeah, and the idea was there from DePaul. They knew that St. John just blew everything they had on the top side of the map. But the problem was they didn't take into account how long it was going to take for them to reset there. And that just gives St. John's the first Dragon of the game almost off the back of that play from DePaul.
Yeah, solid stuff there by the substitute 80 carry Shadow Sneak. Still had flash throughout that whole thing, so he's a cool customer. Knew that the rest of his team was coming down, and the Red Storm were able to weather the storm down on the bottom side of the map, and they lose Dragon pressure due to DePaul. So St. John's getting value there. The biggest thing I think you're able to take away for DePaul here is that maybe soon was able to get 2 plates on the top side of the map, so he does get a bit of gold back, but the Dragon does go over to St. John's.
And I find it really interesting that Pinky has gone for an Executioner's Calling incredibly early. The Ornn gets some HP back, but hold on.
Go Call of the Forge God. It's answered. It's collect, and Pinky's the one having to pay for it. Reaper picking up the kill. Very easy gank there on the flashless Jace in the top side.
But no, I have to double down exactly what you were saying, Zyrene, because that is going to be good chunk of change that should be going into your early game item builds, especially when you're already up against some early armor from maybe soon, and that is going to delay Pinky and that just dying again already in that lane, or dying for the first time rather, but being pushed off once again, going down about 20 to 30 CS now off this next few waves. That is potentially now a near unsalvageable top lane. You really need to put some love into this Jace if you want him to be that split push threat in the later game.
Yeah, 2 levels down, almost to the point where he's double his CS, no teleport available, and it's because they split the map, they traded sides, and Reaper, he's actually going to be able to recover this game for DePaul here. That Rift Herald can be used on something like top side to knock it down, and then they can focus bot side in the future, but this is going to be a game where there's like our time and your time. Right now, I think it's about to be DePaul's time where they can get back into the game, especially off of using maybe soon.
Yeah, and we were lauding Pinky for dealing with the 1v2 in the top lane for such a decent amount of time, and then TP to the bot to pick up a kill, but losing those plates, losing the experience gain that maybe soon was able to get, and now dying, that lead is kind of dissipated, hasn't it? Here comes Basham, though.
Yeah, it certainly has, and maybe he's doing a good job. And this is somewhat of the aftermath of that bot side. But
Vision, what a nice little play there. The counter hook not going to land, but Hunky Hank tried to engage, and Vision said no, sir.
Yeah, that was actually, I believe it was blind, where Hunky Hank started his ultimate and went in with W. He could see, Hunky Hank could see Vision, but Vision couldn't see Hunky Hank, and he dodged it. Don't know if that's blind luck or reaction, but it really was a good sidestep.
Yeah, big disengage and a big ability down now on the bottom side of the map for DePaul. That does ring the Digger Bell and Dinner Bell, I believe, as J4 is already hovering in the zone. Actually, look at this. Full rotation down. No PTPs from top lane, so this will be a straight 4v4, but it looks like Titanic may turn away from the ice just a little bit before they collide, and no fight's going to be brewing on the bottom side.
Yeah, I think Reborn was on his way down to the bottom side, got cut off by Kamcha and Reaper. And again, Kamcha, he has TP, he has Realm Warp, can get there first if Reborn is on the way. And St. John's more than happy to back off and let Vision recall after that nice stop of a gank. So taking a look here, 11:30 into the match. Basically bang even in terms of gold, 3-2 St. John's, but DePaul has a little bit of a lead on the top side of the map with maybe soon having the ability to free farm after a TP play to the bottom side by Pinky. And you can see as well the TPs on cooldown for St. John's. Kamcha, King Amazin have a little bit more leeway, more credence to move around, but St. John's now rotating down, the ping's coming out, and another gank sniffed out by Vision.
It's a mobility boot by here for Basham as well. So he's just looking for early game. Go, try to make pressure happen and be active on the map. We'll see if this continues to be a trend for junglers, but mobility boots fell out of the meta a long time ago. And we'll see here. Whoa.
Pinky flashing away, but no, it's Reaper able to get it. Didn't even need help from the call from downtown. And DePaul will take that first top turret as Jace falls further and further behind.
And Executioner's calling on top of that didn't really do as much as he wanted. It will prevent a lot of the healing from the Olaf, but at the same time, he's just so far behind now because of his Ornn matchup that the Olaf is able to just steamroll him.
Yeah, and just look at the difference that these junglers have been able to put on this top side of the map. Actually,
oh, that's so good.
Again.
Yeah, grand entrance coming in, forcing the flash out of Vision. Vision turning around to get the hook. Does get flayed backwards. Is Hunky Hank. Vision still alive, but King Amazon's able to pick up one. Basham is there to join the fight. Featherstorm, but he calls him back, and it's a double kill there for Zaya. King Amazon says, crown me. Maybe soon says, I want a piece of that as well. Shadow goes down. It's a 3-0 for DePaul.
And that's a huge turnaround because that was a play that was thought out, that was put together by St. John's Reborn. Maybe not out of trouble just yet. Gonna be able to get away as I don't believe the last feather connected.
It didn't.
But that was a play that St. John's was trying to set up. They sent the jungle pressure forward. They didn't wait for the mid laner to roam on down from Orianna from Reborn. And that was almost all of their pressure capital of this early game spent for a dragon and a team fight win for DePaul.
Honestly, just so much going the way of DePaul there. One dragon, and this was just so well played. We talked about it at the start. Hunky Hank, we were saying his name constantly, and King Amazon, same thing. Just so much damage here coming across. The Ornn does help, yes, but at the same time, King Amazon may have had it at that point. That is just so well played from him. The R into the E pullback and just shotgunning and doing so much damage on the return.
Yeah, Pinky pretty far out, does not get caught out by Maybe Soon and Hunky Hank, but again, that whole play set up by Hunky Hank, just a out of the blue grand entrance, getting the knock up onto Vision, and Vision was on top of it earlier in the lane, that time getting caught out, and the I think I can mentality of Basham and Shadow Sneak thinking they can win that 2v3, 2v2. Not the case. King Amazon with that early kill in the first dive by DePaul gave him enough damage to pick up that double kill there.
And it really does showcase the smooth operators on the side of DePaul. They realize even when they're getting ganked in the 3v2, they stay calm. They know how to turn around almost immediately. King Amazon's been doing an amazing job so far, picking up those early leads, but that, being able to respond to pressure in the proper way, even finding kills on the back end, that is how you take a good bottom lane and turn it into a great one, especially at his collegiate level.
Yep, and the fact that they got that top side means that they have so much pressure on this side of the map and that they're able to rotate it around. See this? Pinky. Oh boy.
Here's
no flash.
Call, the Forge God. Can't miss those at point blank range, and Pinky nowhere to go.
Give him the clap.
He gave him the bad breath. Maybe Soon picking up yet another kill. Pinky is now falling to 1 and 3. The rest of DePaul also rotating the top side of the map. They'll take away the red buff. Vision able to land a hook, but not going to lead to too much here.
And we have the Mountain Drake as the third Drake, so the terrain has shifted. There are more choke points in the jungle now. That does favor things like Orianna, and it also favors things like Thresh to land hooks. So St. John's, they do have terrain advantage in my opinion, but at the same time...
Some portal combat. Vision tries to land the hook, not quite able to. Hunky Hank does get the knockup, but no follow-up from the rest of the team. They're more than happy to take control of the top jungle and the inner turret of the top side of the map.
Yeah, now that since DePaul's been able to press up so hard on the top side of the map, you have control over everything, and that is new, of course, to 9.23. We got second Shelly.
Yep.
They might not even want it.
I mean, they're
Why not?
Whoop.
Vision able to hook, tries to get a play in.
Oh!
2 and 3-man shockwave, and that's just what the doctor ordered if you're a St. John's fan. Now Basham going 1v1 against the jungler. He's able to win the battle. Reaper goes down. So far, it's so clean. Kamja will be able to roam more him back to safety, but it's a 4 for 0.
Step 1 of the Orianna drill, get the Orianna involved, and that is what St. John's had been missing. It looked like DePaul were the team that was set up to find this pick, but it was beautiful positioning and knowledge from Reaper to come in, cut off this corner, and absolutely destroy the backline, and for everyone at the same time from DePaul.
And we were talking about it right before that. The mountain changes the terrain. There's so many choke points here. Actually, the Orianna has such an easy time lining up good shockwaves in those corridors. If you are DePaul, you don't want to fight them in the jungle at all. The jungle is, like, to begin with, not favorable terrain for you, but even more so now. It is just such a large disadvantage to play at. I would say DePaul want to avoid it at almost all costs.
Yeah, Return, you touched on it. This is the press R combination here. Ezreal able to get into that action. Vision, he foresaw his death, but he was able to set up the rest of the death coming out of DePaul, also being able to drop his ult, and Basham able to throw down the Cataclysm.
You got to give a big shout out to Reborn, because he's the guy who's subbing into the mid lane here. He's not the normal starter that they had before, so he's really stepping up in this game. 7 out of the 8 kills with kill participation, the highest in the game, and he has held his own in mid in terms of CS. He has gotten priority early, and he has really set this team up. I feel like the roaming that he has put down is exactly what the doctor ordered for St. John's.
Exactly. That's what's gotten them over this early to mid-game hump, but that's also what's going to have to get them over the late-game hump, and that's one of the great things about the Orianna right here. Ori is one of those champions in the mid lane that needs like a kill or 2 or some sort of lead to really hit hard. It upgrades like the little mallet to the sledgehammer, and now that you have those 3 kills, 4 assists under your belt, you can just keep throwing these fights again and again, find those Ori ball combinations.
Watch Maybe Soon. Maybe Soon is flanking here. The Orin Horn.
Oh,
wait.
shockwave though by Reborn. Another weird angle, but here comes an even weirder angle. Maybe Soon coming from behind. Basham gets taken down, and Kamja coming to clean things up. Reaper is very low, but he stays alive. Pinky's able to get one, but Shadow Sneak is just too little, too late. The Rift Herald was picked up during the replay break, so we thought everything was going to be good there for St. John's. Not the case. It's a sneaky Ornn in the bush, and it leads to a nice little stop here by DePaul.
I don't know how the big guy like that hides in a bush that long, but now that they have the alcoves and the 3 brushes bottom lane, nobody checks it. They all just walk straight by, and he comes in from behind. No teleport necessary, and that's going to throw St. John's off, because they might go, wait, we timed his TP. It's not up. It's coming up right now, and he can make another play like that in the future.
And that's how you throw off the well-oiled machine. That's how you throw off the team fight combination. You throw the wrench in, and they're going to throw the horn in as well, but once you have the Orianna Shockwave go at the start of the fight, not really recognizing where the fight is altogether. Even the Ezreal late to join this fight is, you can see Shadow Sneak just barely coming in at the back end. That's a fight that DePaul already won.
And we've seen that Maybe Soon is the X-Factor player here. He's won the Jace matchup because of the attention he got topside. He's able to punish that matchup, push in, basically exploit it as much as he can, and then on the bottom side of the map, he's able to make this play that people go, wait, why the hell's Ornn there? And the reason that he has no reason to be there makes it a good play to do, because they aren't going to expect him.
One of those plays where if nothing happens from there, you're kind of like, what is this guy doing? But because it led to a massive play, Maybe Soon's a genius.
It's so random that it's sometimes really bad, but it also, because it's random, it is really damn good when it works. That's the whole thing, is everybody expects you to play standard once you get to like a diamond plus level. You go, okay, he's gonna be here, you're tracking the jungler, he's like, oh, if he's smart, he's gonna do this, 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 and then he does something really strange, and you're like, wow, that's really dumb that he's there. But it's the fact that it's so dumb that it caught you off guard, and that's exactly what happened here.
It's so dumb, it's genius.
Exactly.
It's
so Bronze is Challenger, but it was actually Challenge.
It's the competitive version of if we don't know what we're doing, they don't know what we're doing. But of course, with a few more IQ points behind it. But yeah, I think, out of time.
Yeah, Basham didn't know what he was doing. He's dead.
And go.
Oh, Baron's on the table.
Baron is on the table.
And they know the jungler's down.
Oh, Kamcha. Oh, not quite able to hold Pinky there. So Pinky forced to back off, and now with the jungler down, DePaul taking control of the top side of the map.
If you are DePaul, you want to get a medium depth ward here. You want to get one a little bit further up, and then you want to have Ornn push bottom side. You want to start the Baron, pull them in because their jungler's dead, but instead they're going to go for mid lane here and see if they can get something on the side. That's really interesting that they're going for the 1-3-1 as opposed to using this teleport and flanking again.
Exactly, but because they are still stronger in those lanes, to be fair.
True.
But the big thing with that is, especially with the TP flank ward, is that the way DePaul has been winning these fights is chaos. It's been that TP on the backside. Baron is the perfect breeding ground for that, for sure.
And I think they're actually setting this up because if the teleport was used by Pinky and they can assume that it was because he hit something and then it was gone, that there is no TP on the top side of the map now. So maybe soon we'll have to go up against the Orianna, the key player, so they can pull Orianna to the bottom side of the map and play this slow.
Yeah, they both have TP. Reborn does have a nice little advantage here against Maybe Soon stack in the Masterwork items in the form of armor. So, again, I like this call from St. John's, but as you said, Orianna wants to be in these team fights.
Yeah.
You want to get a game-changing shockwave. If you kill the Ornn, but it costs your shockwave, you're not as useful as you could be around the Baron pit.
And that's even another thing with dragging both members to the bottom side, because if you force Orianna to TP, she doesn't really get priority of where she wants to position in these fights. And the positioning of the Orianna ulti is so much more precise. It is so much more important of exactly where on the screen you press it, whereas Ornn, you channel first half, and as long as there's not a Yasuo or Braum in the way, you're going to get that second charge off wherever you want.
All right, 13-10 here. 22 minutes on the scoreboard, and DePaul with a slight lead here. A lot of it on the back of both Reaper and Maybe Soon. King Amazing also having a good game. The only one relatively quiet is the player that we highlighted in Kamcha in the mid lane, just kind of doing his job, shoving the wave, getting big, scaling late like Rises do. But right, it's still anyone's game.
Yeah, it certainly is, and I think that when you're playing the Rise, I think just sleeping, going under the radar, pretty darn acceptable, but that really is going to be starting to scale up into the later stages of the game. Because not only do you have Ornn to give you those Masterwork items, you're going against the St. John side that really is lacking a primary tank. Because take a look over to Basham's build. It's a Warrior enchantment with Black Cleaver. Sure, Black Cleaver gives you a little bit of HP to work with, but there's not that much to really hold up against Xayah and the likes of the Rise once you get into the later stages.
I'll say that I do like the fact that DePaul did pull off and wait to take the mid lane turret, so that now there's a little bit more lane priority that they can get. You can get those deeper wards a bit safer and have the minion wave shove up to the inner turret in the mid lane before DePaul gets to it. So a little bit of slower paced patience coming out of the Blue Demons. But they do give up the top lane turret. Binky finally able to take that one down and get some space for St. John's.
Yeah, but during that, you had the rotation towards the top side. St. John's, they're putting down that last line of defense around Baron. They give up priority on mid. They say, all right, we're going to grab Vision, and actually, I think they're trying to get the TP out of Maybe.
Yeah, that DePaul starting to focus down on the Dragon side, on the bottom side of the map, so I think St. John's getting a little cute, getting a little cheeky. They do back off because they were caught out.
Mid lane priority, they don't have it, so they knew it was a bluff. That's the thing, is St. John's went all in on it, trying to get that TP from Maybe Soon, and DePaul went, wait a second, you guys can't defend this mid turret. We pushed it all the way. You didn't do your due diligence. You didn't actually, dot your I's and cross your T's before you started doing that Baron. That was desperation.
Yeah, they dotted their T's and crossed their I's. That's when things go wrong there for you if you're St. John. So they're forced to back off, and then DePaul now, with the superior lane priority, will rotate down to the bottom side and take, I believe, their third Drake of the game, second Mountain Dragon.
Yeah, and then that's just going to start up St. John's once again. They do need to be careful because still pushing on the bottom side from Concha. This isn't seen just yet. I'd be shocked if they didn't.
Watch out for the Orianna.
Oh, Hunky Hank is showing up here, and it is
almost done.
4 men of DePaul. They got to make a decision here because St. John's getting a little low, but here comes Ornn. The Ornn horns on the backside, but it's a multi-man shockwave. Hasn't done enough damage. Shadow Sneak trying to buy a little bit more time. In goes the Olaf, but Olaf goes down. Multiple members falling here for DePaul, and St. John's have found their fight. Maybe Soon, the last one alive, and a great bait by St. John's means it's all blues for the Blue Demons. They only have 1 member left, and Pinky going 1v1. He said, you remember that lane? I remember that lane. You take that, and it's St. John's with the clean ace.
Yeah, I don't know if there's like an in-person place that St. John's playing right now, but that needs to be put on the wall. That is a work of art and a beautiful shockwave with great follow-up from the rest of the members, and that is how you get the wombo combo. You draw them in, you wait for your opponent to break, and you pop off like that. Full kudos to the St. John squad.
And they all just get around it He moved it forward so good. And then that's a teleport that's so far back from Kamcha. You can see he's already used his Archangels. He's already used his shield before he enters. And that's just an absolute catastrophe there for them. Set up off the back of Reborn, who's the substitute for the mid.
And Pinky, we've been giving him a hard time there, but you saw by the time Kamcha got into the fight, he was so chunked because of the shock blast heading to the back line. And great job by St. John's baiting it out. And again, the big shockwave. We're wondering, Reborn, can you carry this game? The support player now subbing into the mid lane. That was another huge shockwave for him.
And now you're going to get your taste of this patch because the Baron buff, I believe it doesn't last as long as it did before.
180, 3 minutes.
Just by like a little margin, like 30 seconds or so. And so it's not going to be as hard of a push here. The gold difference is not going to last as long. And there's one more dragon, I believe, that's needed for DePaul to get the Dragon Soul. I believe they are at 3. They've gotten 2 mountains, and they got the very first one.
And
Ocean.
Yeah, and that'd be actually pretty big if DePaul's able to get the Mountain Soul for sure. Not only do you get the extra resistances against the burst damage out of St. John's, but you also get the Giant Shield, which is the first thing that just lets you prevent the engagement damage from coming in, makes it hard for St. John to actually find that winning fight. Reese is here in the jungle.
This is a little dangerous, a big clump, no shockwave quite yet. He whipped it, it's the sombrero. King Amazing is able to get the fight that he wants. Bash him in the front line. Pinky's still trying to do damage, and multiple members go down. The first time we've seen a major misstep from Reborn leads to 2 members falling.
And they needed that. They needed that to continue pushing forward with this advantage because it's not going to last that long. Like I said, the Dragon Soul is almost up for DePaul. They just need one more dragon to get it. And then that shockwave, the sombrero, it is heartbreaking to see.
Yeah, and I mean, we've been seeing so much good out of Reborn all game. He's got to slip up eventually, especially on that new role, but at least a positive we can take away from St. John's is that they do still have a few members of the Baron. Should give them enough time to reset about 1 or 2 waves, try to get some vision back, but that was the last strike. There are no more free lives. If you lose a fight again, that's probably the Mount Drake, that's probably the Dragon Soul, and that's probably the game at least coming close to being over.
Yeah, and the fact that that happens is just, like I was saying, so heartbreaking. Like, you've been playing so well all game, and it's funny because you get to the point where it's like, oh man, if he didn't miss that, but it's like, you're only in the game because he's been playing so well. Like, that's the thing is people will flame and be like, oh man, the Orianna messed up. It's like, dude, they're only at that point where he has to mess up for them to lose that because he's been playing so well. So, you know, we can give him a hard time, but at the same time, Reborn has been playing out of his mind. Question is, can he do it again? Can he actually make the play land? Can he stick it? Because we've seen what it does when it works.
Right. This wasn't a game-losing mistake. It was just, hey, slow down the momentum. The Baron buff now gone. Again, you touched on it. The Baron buff dissipates much faster in the preseason patch. So St. John's, you got to be more efficient when you have it. And so Reborn has the opportunity to do exactly that. Reborn himself?
Yeah,
Become Reborn in the rest of this game. I got there. And
this is going to be really a true test of the mental of these players. I mean, of course, we talked about Collegiate, you know, not really having the live-in site coaches. It is about the players. How much can they recover from those plays? Reborn, I can say from experience, when you move into a position that is now your own and you make that one mistake, you make that really great mistake, it doesn't matter what else happened in the game, it gets in your head. And it's going to be on Reborn to let that reset because he still has every tool needed to find this next fight. And speaking of next fight, I think I see the prize right there.
I mean, when that happens to me and I'm not on roll, I go, bro, I'm autofilled. Like, don't look at me, bro. Like, what? You're playing my main role, man. What are you doing?
Yeah, TP here by Maybe Soon. He wants to be sure he's here for this fight. He does have ultimate. And again, this would be the 4th Drake for DePaul. The call has come through. Reborn is able to step away, but multiple members getting chunked. Bash him in the front line. Does have GA. Will be able to have that pop. Kamcha does go golden, so Pinky not taking too much damage. Shockwave does not hit too many people, but it doesn't matter because Shadow Sneak has come from the flank. It's the flanking Ezreal. Does a decent amount of damage, but the feathers pulled back by King Amazing.
It's the right
it's
damage.
A dish out. Hunky Hank is very low, but untouched is the Xayah. The 80 carry still trying to dish out damage. Now it's a 1v1. King Amazing flashing forward. Shadow Sneak flashing backwards, but King Amazing able to get the damage down. A quadra kill. Will he be able to get the penta? Shadow Sneak gets the kill, but it's a penta going over for the 80 carry for DePaul.
And it was flashy as all heck from St. John's, but that performance, King Amazing on the Xayah, was the absolute MVP. The late game is here. The scaling, the upgraded items, and this is absolutely the bird ready to take flight.
We've talked about King Amazing and Hunky Hank since before we were even in game, actually, and they have just done such a great job. The Lovers duo, the last 2 picks for this team, coming in huge and cleaning up that fight, actually making it the win for DePaul, and the Dragon Soul will come in now.
Yeah, they'll get it. They'll eventually get it. But what a play there. One more time. A TP just to make sure you're there on time by maybe soon, which starts off this whole fight.
And you can see really what the idea is from DePaul. They know that Orianna Shockwave is the main thing they need to avoid, so they throw everything at Reborn. They throw people, they throw abilities, they throw Reaper here eventually, the Zhonya's from Kamcha, just to make sure you're never able to get into a good position for that Shockwave, and that is the result. The pressure cracked St. John's, and once that pressure is gone, King Amazing plays this back and forth kiting game, but then when the moment is right and the stars are aligned, jumps forward and finds the pen.
There's a flash there from Pinky as well, who flashes right into the stun that goes down. Oh man, he just missed timing on that, and then the pull back and the crit.
And the dabbing Pengu at the same time, perfectly timed with the death. But yeah, that was fantastic. It really showed you the confidence of this player to know exactly when to switch off at targets, when to keep that fight going. And this is a Xayah that still shows no signs of stopping.
Yep, and right now, we're now at that point in the game where you will start having Elder Dragon spawn. You're going to start having the executes come in, and now there's the extra shield there for DePaul. Because they have the Dragon Soul and it's of the Mountain Persuasion, you're going to have that extra shield based off of pretty much every stat, HP, AD, and AP. So everyone will benefit from this.
How about this for a game number 1 in the Big East preseason invitational? 1 versus 4. Again, remember, we've got Villanova taking on Seton Hall 2-3 after this 3-game set. So make sure you stick around. Having a great job, though.
Yeah, and the gold at the top, it's funny because this is going to be one of the weirdest games when you look at it on paper and go, man, it's really close. But there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 Ornn items. It's 5,000 gold worth of stats on the side of DePaul, on top of the Dragon Soul, which will benefit everybody, and the Drakes that will give them extra MR and armor. So they are actually much further ahead in combat stats than that 100 gold lead would lead you to believe.
Exactly. DePaul are being raised up by those extra items, but realize the champions on St. John's aren't built to scale this late into the game, especially, of course, the top lane. You got Jace, who you saw the early game. You know the struggles he's gone through. NA Jace meme still lives on to this day. But also Ezreal and Shadow Sneak, who has been, I think, kind of, we've hit on him a few times during these fights, but I feel like he has been somewhat the unsung hero of St. John's winning a lot of these fights. He doesn't scale very much after this, especially to the likes of Xayah. So it is still going to be on the composition in the execution of those engagements and fights to bring that over that line. And every time does Paul find this new bastion of late game resource, and of course, as Baron, I think, is that next bastion, it gets harder and harder to envision a world where St. John's takes these fights back.
Yeah, and usually it's all started off by the call of the Forge God. The top side of the map, maybe soon, has been integral to these team fight victories. We'll see what he's able to pull off as DePaul continue to take top side vision. Again, Mountain Rift, less vision on the map. You're seeing a lot more players spend more resources and more time onto vision control, and then heading on over to the Baron Pit. It's going to be very difficult for St. John's to pick the fight when they can't see what they're walking into.
And it started up here. Ball will get some vision, but they are far behind. This is going to go down really quickly.
Basham does.
He'll be there right in time.
Have the Moby boots. He will have the opportunity.
Flash in.
Flashes in. Will he steal it? May they steal the Baron? It's stolen by Reborn. Basham does go down. King Amazing picking up that kill, but St. John's finding a little bit more life. Realm Warp does get used, and Shadow Sneak might be in a little bit of trouble. Kamcha can't decide which way he's going, and Shadow Sneak is able to sneak himself to safety, shifting away. The grand entrance not so grand at all by Hunky Hank, and St. John's sneak this one for just a little bit longer.
This is the kind of fill player I want in my solo queue games. That was a fantastic steal. It was a good team effort, of course. Reborn getting kind of flashy reward from it, but that just saves the game for St. John's because now they're able to stall out. Now they're able to reset up this map and get ready for their engagement, but there's still a 45 to go through.
Vision gets the hook, but here comes the call. I don't think he wanted. You mess with the bull, you get the horns, and now Vision in a little bit of trouble. Vision
almost has Shockwave.
Trying to hold a little bit longer. Shockwave able to get 2-man. Nice little poke there by Shadow Sneak. Oh, and Reborn has to go golden. The feathers will come back and finish off Jace. It finishes off Orianna. And St. John's, they bought time and then gave it back. And it's It's all DePaul right now. 4 members up. Basham has respawned. He does have GA, but DePaul, they've got the inhibitor, finally cracking the base of the Red Storm.
Yep, and now they get to do some damage to these turrets. They're going to see if they can actually end the game here, even though it's against a Baron, even though it got stolen from them.
Let's see, Shadow Sneak trying to force out the damage. Basham does go in with the Cataclysm, 3-man in, does have the GA, will trade his life, but it's outside the turret range.
They gotta kill minions.
Not getting help, they've got to kill minions. Shadow Sneak, Ezreal not known as the fastest clearer of minions, and now DePaul turn their focus onto the turrets. Will he be able to shift away? Yes. Honky Hank very low, but he'll continue to live. Vision trying to get the auto attack, won't be able to get the auto attack, and DePaul are forced back. St. John's hold for a little bit longer. They do have one more Baron buff, and that is on Shadow Sneak, but the damage has been done.
And DePaul was wasting so much time going for kills. That is just absolute greed there. The game could have been over if they had just focused turrets instead of focusing down this Jarvan that does very minimal damage. But even then, when his GA was just popping, you just wait for him to run away. He is not a threat to you anymore.
Oh, Pinky getting caught with not just his pinky, but the whole hand in the cookie jar. He gets knocked up, he gets finished off, and Kamcha picks up that kill.
And that's going to be Elder Dragon. He is dead right at the wrong time. And now it's going to be spawning in just a second here. They'll be able to pick it up. The execute will start coming through with the true damage. And now we're going to start seeing some lasers.
Yeah, ready for the lasers. The League of Lasers about to become unlocked and online. Nice steal attempt by Shadow Sneak, but not nice enough as the rest of DePaul now with the buff. Get to see the first time I get to see this, other than the cool video that shows us how it works. See if anyone gets lasered. Again, it's any damage, so any auto attack, any ability below 20% health will lead to an exit.
I believe even the tick of it does it too. So
there was a bug earlier where Death Dance would lead to that one as well. But here we go, knock up onto the back line. Shadow Sneak trying to get himself out, but the flash forward by Hunky Hank. He's the hunkiest, he's the hankiest. He does lead to the kill of the AD carry, and DePaul will now march on into the base. Vision, Reborn, and Basham, the only ones left alive. They will teleport to the back line. A nice multi-man knockup into a shockwave, but again, outside turn range, so there will not be enough damage. Pinky walking around, not dishing auto attacks out. They're very low. The laser comes out. It does the lead one the whole time. King Amazing doing his job onto the Nexus, and will finish it off. DePaul in a back-and-forth battle with the Red Storm will take game number 1.
And King Amazing, he's like, I got my pentakill, get me out! And he just wants to just move on. They could have ended the game a little earlier, but at the same time, it's a great way for DePaul, for the Blue Demons, to start the series off right.
What a game number 1. Back and forth between both teams for a while. We didn't even know. We've seen so many matches earlier decided, and then it's a slow burn. You see teams eventually finally sputter out, but this was just so close for both these teams. Great plays back and forth, and a good setup for our 3-game series.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a really action-packed series here. Fast, we saw them fighting back and forth, tooth and nail. The Ornn pick was very interesting because it worked out incredibly well on the top side. They were able to focus it, shut down the Jace counter pick, and then it turned online to give everybody basically free gold. If the Ornn was not in the game, this would have been a game that St. John's had actually a really good chance of winning based on the position they were in.
Yeah, both 80 carries as well. Shadow Sneak doing a decent job on the Ezreal, but King Amazing, pentakill in that game, ending up being able to carry with the lovers duo of Hunky Hank, always doing a great job. Big stuff there by DePaul to take game number 1. Return is standing by with the replay to break down some of the action. Take it away, Return.
Thank you, guys. And exactly, with the climb back into the game from DePaul and reaching the peak, of course, at the Mound Drag fight that ended up giving King Amazing a penta. Let's take a quick walk back through and see how DePaul, of course, was able to find the fight that eventually just really let them end up breaking open the game. Of course, as we let this one play through, you can see that both teams are starting to set up around. Battle lines are drawn, especially down the middle of this rift, and both teams have very clear ideas of what they need to get done in mind. DePaul, and of course, we're going to pause right here right before this ultimate, DePaul needs to get onto this member right here, Orianna. The shockwaves have been just too good. Of course, the Ezreal damage is somewhat to be concerned about, but trust in your Ryze, trust in your Xayah to get the damage down. And this turns into a fight of how many things can we throw at the backline. And as you can see right here, as we're gonna let this one play through, it's the first thing being thrown, it's the Ornn ultimate. Gets the spell shield off of Reborn. And as Reborn is trying to kite back away, great Zonius to take attention off of Kamcha, and then throwing the Olaf, throwing himself at the backline, forces this quick ultimate here that ends up landing onto nobody and really just opens the door from DePaul. And once that is all off the table, there are no more cheap tricks. It is only team fighting. It is only damages. We let this play fall through. You really see that DePaul were just so proficient in their execution of these fights. Especially keep an eye on King Amazing here, ladies and gentlemen, as we take the circle off the screen, but really just keep your eyes here. King Amazing knowing exactly when to step on back in this fight. And here's potentially one of the most impressive parts of the fight for me. King Amazing, when he's ready to let loose, the flash away from Sneak, immediately turns back on to Reborn, knows exactly when to switch those targets, and then at the very end, gets the Pengu dab, gets the pentakill, and that's exactly what DePaul was able to play around, just continuously disrupting those backline fights and keeping St. John's from finding their Orianna composition. And that's exactly what they needed. Back to you guys on the desk, close out game one.
Thank you very much, Return. Again, that Dragon fight just was such a turning point there, and what a moment there for King Amazing to finally get the pop-off moment in this season, especially when it starts to matter here in the playoffs.
And we've had so many pop-off moments in that game alone. We saw the Orin flank from Maybe Soon. We saw the Orianna shockwave that was absolutely perfect from Reborn, and we saw the pentakill pop-off there from King Amazing. This game was just action-packed for both sides, and that's why it was such a seesaw back and forth. But ultimately, I think it came down to Dragon control, objective control, really favoring DePaul, and the fact that they were the ones getting to the objectives first. So St. John's moving forward, I want to see them not just put all their eggs in one basket, but also make sure that they have exactly what they need to round out compositions. The Jace doesn't really fit into it too well, except if you're going to punish the top side of the map. And that isn't what happened. The Jarvan didn't play to that side of the map. He played to the bottom, was really anchored down there. So that would be the change I would want to see, is that Basham, he did look a little bit out of sorts in the jungle. He did look like his routing early was not as optimal as it could have been, especially given the composition that he had. When I see a Jace top, I am going to go to that lane, whether I'm warding for it, setting up, ganking, or counter ganking. That's a lane that has to draw your attention early, and he wasn't on the top side of the map.
Yeah, well, Basham will have the opportunity to adjust just a little bit there. Again, big shout-outs to Reborn in the mid lane, the substitute mid laner. Normally, the support in the mid lane had a huge impact in that game. We'll get to find out if they are able to do so again in game number 2. But before we do, make sure you follow us on Twitter, so that you can get all your updates for the collegiate action. And also, of course, vote for our Grubhub Cast and Chat Chowdown, where you guys at home can decide what we're going to eat. Of course, thanks to Grubhub, our partner of ESL Collegiate. And again, man, what a fantastic way to kick things off. The Blue Demons, don't peek. No cheating.
I'm going to peek.
I'm going to peek first?
ESL Collegiate.
And as well, while Zyrene is peeking and figuring out what he's...
Oh, they have dessert. All right.
what we're going to eat. Make sure you head on over to ESL Collegiate, make that vote. We're going to head over to a short break, but when we come back, we'll have the explosive game number 2 between St. John's and DePaul. Don't go anywhere.
Dessert. Give me dessert.